Three, two. Welcome to episode 276 of Friars on the Farm. I am Donovan, and with me is Roy.
Oh man, it's another beautiful Tuesday Monday down here in Southern California.
It is a beautiful, and that's what we got. After this last weekend, we have the weather. That's what it is. We're here for the weather. It's funny how, thinking of the Saturday game, we're just going to banter this and we'll talk more about it later. Um, you can just see the train wreck happening. Like you see the bases loaded, one out, and you're like, you know, this is not going to end well. But you go like, come on, that's 5 runs. Like, oh my God, how can they score 5 runs in the ninth inning? And when you watch it happen, you're like, oh, you see it happen. And it's so sad when you watch that happen because you're just like, it ruined our whole night. It was the ninth inning. Lydia goes, takes a shower. We were going to make dinner or whatever and just do whatever. And I come back and she's out of the shower. I'm like, L, it's an L.
All right, so since you went there, let's break this down a little bit. Okay, so Robert Suarez goes in. He's your all-star closer. He's been pretty good this year. There's been a couple of hiccups, but there's been no recent reason to think that he's going to go in there and just lay a turd. So
Right.
he goes in, first couple of guys get on base. I was still feeling pretty confident. I'm thinking there's still a big lead. Okay, now it's a safe situation because it wasn't when he came in, which I didn't think. It's not a safe situation for whatever reason. Closers stumble when it's not a safe situation. But anyway, so is Mike Schultz supposed to have the next guy already warming up when your
Nope.
all-star closer goes in?
Nope.
So once he lets two guys on base and you've got the minimum third batter, is he supposed to have somebody already up and all frothed up and ready to go? Like, I don't know how you go from bringing in your guy to having plan B ready before it's too late.
Right. And you don't. Yeah, I don't think you do that. I think you ride or die with the guy. And, after that first hit, maybe they score a couple, after they score a run or two, sure, then you get a guy up. But it's not automatic where your closer comes in with 5 runs or even with 1 run or 2 runs and have a guy ready just in case. That's not how you run a bullpen. You don't get guys up because those bullets, even in the bullpen, are counted. It doesn't count just when they come into the game. That counts when they're warming up. And, depending on availability and matchups, like you ride or die with your closer. It just happened. And just one of those games that just happens. And for me, it just seems like it's, the way we have been struggling this past month and a half or so. After getting some runs, through the LA series, kind of coming to life and then coming to life during the Diamondback series, you would hope to get that W and to see your closer just kind of, crap the bed, which happens to every team. It sucks. It's sad to see.
It does. It happens from time to time, but I think maybe we pull the positives out of this. So, as you said, during the Dodgers series, we finally saw them put some runs up. They lost a close one, but they won the blowout game. And then the Arizona game, every game, the offense was starting to look a little bit better. I noticed something during the Arizona series. So, Tatis, about a month ago, he took that ball off his forearm and
Right.
he had that spot that just swelled up right away. Ever since then, I've noticed that he's been going back to his leg kick. He's been having that higher leg kick. And I'm wondering if he was trying to find a little extra power because he knew that his forearm wasn't 100% and he was having a hard time driving through the ball. So he needed to get a little extra behind it. I noticed this weekend that high kick went away and he's been back to that little toe tap, like a slide step kind of a thing, and it makes his timing look so much better.
Right.
And what do you know?
Right.
This weekend he started spraying laser beams all over the field again.
Yeah.
He's not hitting the big nukes that we want to see, but he's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting it all over the field. He's running crazy on the bases. And at the top of the order, that's what he needs to be doing. So if he can get back to that, and then behind him, Arise is always a menace. Machado's doing what he's been doing. Bogarts has gotten a couple of hits, and Gavin Sheets is doing his thing. So if the front of that order can keep doing their thing, they got a chance. Now you got 4 games against Dodgers. I mean, this is the toughest matchup for the Padres. I mean, we saw
Yeah.
that last week, but I don't think you can just write them off. You have to go into this thinking you have a chance to win two or three at least.
Right. But the series is, not the best expectation. You want to win the series, but once again, you want to be able to play these guys strong, and that's the thing is like these matchups, these midseason matchups, really almost midseason matchups, so late in the season, we're finally starting to play these guys. It's not a test; it's just games. It's just a game, and for fans, it's for me. I want to see the team do well. I want to see the team it be competitive games. I want it to be tight, and maybe we squeeze a couple wins out, and maybe we win the series. But it's a little bit more attention to it with it being the Dodgers, with Shohei Ohtani pitching tonight. It's not their World Series, it's our World Series, but they have Shohei back, which I found was interesting. But it's good to see the offense come back. I think Tatis, through those struggles, was trying to find something, and that leg kick is where he went to. And it just didn't, when you try to change something mid-season, when you're struggling and you change stuff, you try harder, it's not going to work. So for whatever reason, as you saw, he started connecting with the ball. They dropped a leg kick. It's back. Things are back to normal, and that happens. Players have bad months. And once again, that last month kind of goes the way Tatis goes. As the team struggled, we won we won most games, but we should have won more. I think that's, the way the team goes is what Tatis goes, because Machado can only do so much. And God, if Machado didn't just really carry us on his back that past month.
Yeah, I've got that down here on our MLB minute. We're already 30 seconds into the MLB minute. Let's just jump straight to that. So I've got that down here. Manny has broad shoulders, because I don't know where this team would be if it wasn't for Manny Machado, and he's just been absolutely incredible. But there's been a little bit of activity on the roster, unfortunately, in that Arizona series. Jackson Merrill took a hard tag to the head, and he was a little woozy that day, so he got put on the concussion protocol. So they brought up Trenton Brooks to take his place. And then today we got notification that the Padres selected the contract of Bryce Johnson, old friend, now new friend again.
Yep.
And Luis Campusano's been optioned down to AAA. And then Yu Darvish went to the 60-day IL. And I said that to my wife about Yu Darvish. And she's like, well, when's he going to be right? And it's like, you think about from the start of the season, we're almost 60 days into the season already. So I think it's just a matter of clearing up some space, and they know that he's probably still another couple of weeks away. But yeah, so Jackson Merrill took that hard tag, and when it happened, the way that he laid on the ground for a second, I thought it might have been a shoulder. I'm thinking,
Right.
like, my mind starts going to worst possible scenarios.
Yeah.
Not to diminish what a concussion can do, because concussions can have lingering effects. But I'm hoping that this is like Luis Arise earlier this year, where he went on the protocol. It was all out of precaution, and then he was back in 7 days and no lasting effects.
And right when it happened, it was a bang bang play. Ketel Marte, we love that guy, and you saw him right away. He's like, he knew that he hit him hard, and he knew he felt bad. So it's just one of those unfortunate plays when it happens. No ill will towards Ketel, and things could have been a lot worse. He didn't have the greatest series, Marte, and he came up a couple times with some bases. He struck out with some guys on base, and was kind of happy about it. Kind of happy about that. But it just happens. It's good to give him a breather. He's been struggling a little bit, so give him a couple. Give him a week or so. Bring some guys up. See if we can't find some kind of replacement for left field. I know, Hayward's down in El Paso, getting his feet, getting back, but we got to find a solution to left field. And with teams like the Giants making the moves that they made with Rafael Devers, which came totally out of left field, Predators working the phones, and I think that trade is probably going to happen sooner rather than later. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get deeper into the podcast. But we need to find a solution for left field, and catching. We need offense out of the catching, or at least more offense out of the DH position.
All right, so offense out of the DH position and catching. Luis Campusano was sent down to El Paso. He was brought up. he saw a little bit of time as DH. He made one start, but people are like, well, need to give him his opportunities. I feel like he had his opportunities and he wasn't able to take advantage of that. So it's a bit of a conundrum. He's going to go back down to El Paso, and I guarantee you he's going to start smoking the ball all over
Right.
the place. He's going to be batting 380, slugging 450, 500 by the end of the next week. And so what do you do with Campusano at this point?
You maybe you get him down there, just let him tear up AAA pitching. And we'll see what Preller has in mind, but I still don't think he got enough. Like he sat for a while on the bench for a couple of weeks. And sure, you want to give him a blow for a week. Um, and then you get him in, but the consistent opportunities have to be there. And particularly with a guy like Campusano, I think you really needed to give him more time, but we don't have time. And we need production out of that position. And as little as we've been getting from Maldonado and Diaz, what they do with this, with the rotation, sorry, is much more important than actually the offense that we still do need. My question is, does a change of scenery do him well? Does he get traded to another team and maybe get a better opportunity and just a change of scenery and more time on a major league roster and getting a chance with another team? Maybe he's that little sweeten the pot kind of deal that gets us the guys that we need in left field. I don't know. Brandon Valenzuela, and we'll talk about him again today, I'm sure, has been really tearing it up in Double-A. So, we're not short of opportunities for guys to come up, but they're few and far between, and they got to happen almost immediately.
Right. I thought it was pretty telling. There was a press conference and somebody asked, okay, what's it going to take for Luis Campusano to get his opportunity? And Schilt's answer was to talk about everybody but Luis Campusano.
Right.
He talked about the job that the other catchers do with the pitching staff. He talked about getting Jose Iglesias involved and getting this guy and that guy. Talked about how he needed to get everybody except Luis Campusano. And it told me that the coaching staff, I feel like they don't trust him in that spot. They can't pull him off the bench when it's a big at bat because they just
Right.
don't trust that he's going to be able to come through. And it's a shame because we've seen it in the past. There
Right.
have been stretches in the past where he was really good at the major league level, and you can't just pull him up from AAA and expect him to hit the ground running because he hasn't been able to do that. And you can't put those other guys on the bench and give him starts because this team's trying to contend and they're playing good teams. Every
Right.
single one of these games matters. I know
Right.
we're only what
Right.
60, 70 games into the season, but these games all count. Every at bat counts, every play counts. So yeah, I think a change of scenery is probably where we're going to be looking for him. And I also look at Tirso Ornelas that we were campaigning so hard for him, but now there's an opening in left field and Tirso has not been getting the call.
Right.
And so now we see Trenton Brooks and Bryce Johnson called up. They weren't on the 40 man. So there's another transaction that needs to happen to get those guys up where Tirso's right there. He's healthy. He's ready to go. It's just he's not hitting the way that they want to see him hit. He's not whatever they want to see. He's not getting it done. And
Not doing it.
unfortunately, I have a feeling it's a couple of our favorite guys are going to be leaving the organization soon.
Yeah, and it's tough, or at least being down there for a long time. And with Campusano, you almost wonder if the work's being put in off the field. When coaches don't talk about you, and you're struggling or you're not getting opportunity, like, hey, he's working hard, he's working with the coaches, there's some kind of narrative there that he's doing the work, pregame and working with the coaches and doing stuff like that. And when that's not even mentioned, I don't know if it's, the emotional aspect that can't be a struggle with in the past, or that maybe he feels a little bit underappreciated and it's a little bit of that kind of a thought. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but I know that something has to change with him and Tirso, for the organization to feel more confident in their abilities to play Major League Baseball.
Right, for sure. All right, so now you touched on the one other thing that I wanted to discuss, and that was the Rafael Devers trade.
Yeah.
The Giants traded starting pitcher and another guy that's bounced between starting pitching and bullpen to Boston. Boston has said that they want pitching in any deal. That's what they're looking for, as well as two minor league guys. And they got Rafael Devers. I think this is the second year of his big
Yeah.
contract, 10 years, $30 million a year. I don't know where he's going to play over there. I mean, they got Matt Chapman at third base. You're not moving Matt Chapman off
Right.
third base. He's on the injured list right now. But I figure Devers is going to be their DH, but one of the best hitters in baseball is now in the National League West. I'm just grateful that the Padres just had a couple series against the Giants, and I haven't checked the schedule, but I don't think we see San Francisco again for a little while.
And thank God. And here's the thing about Devers is like, we're baseball fans. I watch a lot of baseball and I pay attention to it. And you just see how this whole season has unfolded with him and Craig Breslow, just the acrimony between the organization and him. And, rightfully so. Like, you just signed me to a large deal, but now you want me to play first base. Maybe they didn't set the expectation when they signed the deal. But it got really acrimonious and it got into the media. That's how we know it here on the West Coast. So it's tough to see that. And from all intents and purposes, he's a god. He's one of the better hitters now in the National League. But it'll be interesting, how he does, because Chapman's not leaving third base. Is he kind of accepted the role that he'll be playing as a DH, as a first base, or maybe strictly DH and giving Chapman a breather once a week, maybe twice? It'll be interesting to see how they play it out, but it's kind of good for him to get out of Boston. And my brother-in-law is a Boston fan, and they're not doing that bad, are they? They're close.
They're around 500, but they're within striking distance. So
Right.
if a couple of things turn their way, they could be back in contention, and it's early. But what it sounded like to me was I think Shane Bloom was still the GM that signed him to that big deal.
Right.
And so now when Breslow came in, he inherited Devers as your franchise centerpiece guy. And when the whole Alex Bregman thing went down, it sounds like Devers wasn't brought into the fold on that at all,
Yeah.
which that doesn't sound right to me. Like when they brought Bogarts in, I have to figure that they talked to Manny Machado like, hey, we're talking about doing this big deal with this guy that's going to be playing next to you for the next
Right.
however many years. Are you cool with that? But so your star third baseman, you're going to sign another third baseman and you're not going to talk to him about it. And then he wasn't approached about first base until very, very late in things. And he's like, no, I'm a third baseman. Why are you asking me to play for I don't play first base. Like
Right.
you can't expect somebody to just switch on the fly like that.
Right.
And I don't know how those conversations went down, but whatever happened, it wasn't to Devers' liking. Now it doesn't sound like Devers asked for a trade, but it's pretty clear that both sides weren't happy with what's going on. It's just so unusual to trade somebody in that magnitude of a contract that early in the deal. It's not like this was an expiring deal where he's got
Right.
a year and a half left. They traded Mookie Betts because he was they knew they weren't going to sign him to that long-term extension. They let Xander Bogaerts walk because they knew they weren't going to sign him long-term. They locked this guy down to prove to the fans that what they did to Mookie Betts and to Xander Bogaerts, that they were better than that.
God.
And now what's that say to the fans? So it's got to be a weird time to be a Red Sox fan.
It does. And we complain about, the lack of production from Xander Bogaerts. But at least our organization is honest with the players and there's a clear communication from the top to the players on the field of what's happening, where the direction they're going and what they're doing. And so you don't see any of that in any of the media from the Padres. So, I guess lie to him if you got him, or let's just move. Grateful to have that. No drama on our, in our organization as we move forward.
Let's hope it stays that way. Okay, so you mentioned from the top of the organization to the bottom. Let's move on to our minor league minute, and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the organization to the complex league. Baseball America, Josh Norris wrote an article, 7 MLB prospects who caught our attention in the Arizona Complex League, and they selected a Padre. I feel like we haven't had a whole lot of prospect articles written about Padres guys, so I'm excited to see a little bit of activity.
Yeah.
So they wrote about Humberto Cruz, right-handed pitcher. He said Leo Vries was the crown jewel of San Diego's 2024 international signing class, but Cruz wasn't far behind. After making a deal to acquire more pool money, Padres inked the right-hander for $750,000, and they had to trade away a minor leaguer to get that pool money to get him. That's how bad they wanted to get this guy. So Cruz's development has been slowed a touch by injuries, but his recent outing against the ACL was the longest of his career. Facing the Rangers, Cruz showed off a solid three-pitch mix, headed by a fastball in the 93 to 95 mile an hour range that peaked at 96. He backed it with a solid slicing slider, a lot of S's right there, that he could land for strikes or bury for chases, and a changeup that showed at least average fading life. Cruz has room for projection and would benefit from the extra strength he's likely to gain as he moves into his 20s. His combination of present stuff, projection, and a clean delivery points toward a ceiling as a rotation piece. So I'm hearing that the slider, he can command it for strikes, and he can also get it just off the plate to draw, swing, and miss. That's not something you see in a lot of teenagers. A lot of teenagers have that slider that it breaks across the plate, but they don't
Right.
really know where it's going yet.
Right. Control there is were really important. And it's funny with that expectation of the signing back then. I was just like, how many times the last two seasons were like, okay, Cruz should be in the rotation. Cruz should be in the rotations. Injuries have slowed him down, but I'm okay with keeping him in the complex till he's ready. There's no rush to these guys, and we're going to talk about a plethora of pitching talent in the lower and upper minors. But there's no rush for this kid. So get him in the complex, get him healthy, get him strong, and then maybe bring him up halfway through, after the All-Star break, or, a cup of coffee in Elsinore to kind of start his affiliate career. But, I'm kind of been chomping at the bit to see this kid pitch.
Well, he's 18 and a half, so he's the same age as a bunch of the kids that are about to get drafted this summer.
Right.
So yeah, he is right on time. If he winds up making his debut in Lake Elsinore this year, that's ahead of the schedule for most of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, and here's some sad news that just, Joshua Mears retired. So it's one of those guys where a body to dream on, a great kid, good heart. He worked hard. He tried to stick with going to the pitching, and then coming back, and just, I can appreciate him retiring and not seeing a future in professional baseball, at least, playing professional baseball. But he retired, so that opens up a space for a ton of, not only just a ton of movement, but a ton of movement in the system. But it's kind of tough to see him go.
It is. It is. It's so much fun watching the light tower power and you fall and go. Griffin Dorsing was my guy, but similar kind of dude. Lots of swing and miss, and when he hits it, it's going a mile. But so many big situations show up, and he's just going down swinging. It's like, man. So great guy. Wish him the best, but I guess a career in baseball just wasn't in the cards for him.
Yeah, that's all right. So what do you got next here? Right-handed pitcher Bradley Rodriguez exited his second appearance with So this, have you heard anything about this? So he exited his second appearance in AAA last Sunday with discomfort in his biceps. The Padre medical staff, however, is cautiously optimistic that he could be considered for a return to game action in a few days. Now that was a few days ago. I haven't heard anything. It's good that it's not Tommy John. We're always thinking with the hard throwers, with the young guys, that it's going to be a Tommy John situation, but it just might be a little bit of a stretched muscle.
Right. I mean, when it happened, it had kind of the telltale signs that he just immediately, everybody knew something wasn't right. And that's where our mind goes. And I was expecting to hear forearm discomfort or elbow soreness or something like that. It's in his bicep. I don't know what that means, but we always seem to hear elbow down when it's UCL related. Who knows? We'll just have to find out. And it's minor leagues. You don't get the regular health updates. Mike Schilt, he's answering questions about everybody. Every day somebody's asking him about Yu Darvish. But and so he has to answer all those questions. In the minors, we don't hear that. We just hear, he's on the injury list. And sometimes we don't even hear why. Just, they got transferred to the IL. And then a week and a half later, they're back and they're in games. So we just have to hope for the best with Bradley.
And it's funny because in the 90s and 80s, it was always rotator cuff. It was always rotator cuff. Like it was always the shoulder up here. Now with the velocity, it's all down in the elbow. It's weird how that injury for pitching has changed over the decades, obviously with the velocity, but maybe training got better where those rotator cuff tears aren't as frequent. Or I haven't heard of a rotator cuff tear for 10 years, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, the medical, the science has definitely gotten better. The equipment that they have to monitor everything is better. I mean, you see these guys wearing these sleeves when they're throwing their bullpen so they can measure how much strain they're putting on their arms and all that. But who knows, and ultimately we're flesh and bone. And so
Right.
there's no exact science for it.
Talk about
So there were,
hold on.
huh?
Talk about flesh and bone. Did you see Sean Casey play for the Savannah Bananas?
Did he?
He walked and then he jogged to first base and then he a hard run around first base and tore his hamstring off the bone.
Oh no.
You couldn't tell.
Oh,
he's laughing. He's going, yeah. You know how Casey the mayor is so outgoing. Um,
yeah.
he walked off the field and you couldn't tell that he had tore the hamstring off his bone. But yeah, that
Oh
happened.
my God. The amount of pain that he must have been in. Like how do you mask that to put on a show for the people? That's incredible.
He had no idea.
Oh my God. Okay, now I have to brag for a moment. We're gonna see the bananas when they come to San Diego.
Oh, really?
I'm so
Fantastic.
excited. They're
Yeah.
coming for 2 days, and the lottery came and went, and I didn't even hear about it. And I was like, oh man, at least I could have signed up and seen if I could have, won the lottery for the chance to buy a ticket because that's how they do it. It isn't just like tickets open up. Like you
Yeah.
need to be in this lottery just to get a chance. But because we do have a season ticket package, we got an email from our player rep that we had an opportunity to buy. Apparently they had some tickets reserved. So we are going to go to the second game, and I'm excited to see. I have no idea who they're going to pull out of the woodworks. There's always a few guys that you know, local people that they pull out to play in the game. So I'm excited to see.
I wonder who, and they usually pull out an old Padre.
Yeah.
I wonder who from fantasy camp is going to show up and play.
Oh man, I mean, just so go look at Kyle Glazer's his podcast. He's
Yeah.
talking to Mike Cameron and Heath Bell. You know that those guys. I mean, Heath Bell's there every year
Yeah.
in training camp, right?
Yeah.
And I don't. They could bring anybody. It would be amazing to see Trevor come out. And I have no idea what his arms got. He could at least lob a couple over, but I mean, it's an exhibition. It's fun. It's a
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
It's the greatest show on. I don't know what they call it. It's not the greatest show on turf because that was the Rams in the early 2000s. But anyway, I'm excited to go. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That is a lot of fun. All right. So let's keep
All right.
moving on.
Yeah, we got a bunch of transactions. There's a lot of movement up and down the minors, so we do want to talk about this a little bit because it's important what's going on. Eduardo Nunez transferred to El Paso from Double A San Antonio. Carter Lowen and Jose Espada both went with him. Eduardo Nunez, I feel like he's Jeremiah Estrada ish. Like he's
Really?
got the couple of nasty pitches, lots of velocity, has a hard time with command. And with Estrada, they were able to figure that out and get him on track. And now he's amazing. They tried to do that with Javian Sandridge, didn't quite work out. But Eduardo Nunez has one of these sliders that breaks like 2.5 feet horizontal. Clark Farenthold could tell you all about those numbers, but nasty stuff. And
Yeah.
then Carter Lowen, a couple years away from Tommy John now. He's just getting it done. He's bringing his lunchbox and quietly going about his work, and he's having a good season without really getting a whole lot of notification for it. And then Jose Espada, he was a Padre a couple years ago, made his major league debut with the Padres, pitched in a couple of games, and then got sent back to the minors.
Yep.
Went and pitched in Japan, and now he's back. So now he's moving up to El Paso. So that's all good stuff. And then Jason Blanchard was placed on the development list. Ripken Reyes was transferred from El Paso to Double A San Antonio. And holy cow, did he hit the ground running? We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the organization made a bunch of other moves. Luis Gutierrez went to High A Fort Wayne after posting a 2.88 ERA. He was really good in a
Yeah.
couple of starts recently. Tyson Neighbors, we keep talking about him. He went up to Double A. So go kick some butt in Double A, and who knows what the future is going to hold. Um, And then we've got Carter Lowe and Espada, Eduardo Nunez. So that's the shuffle. It's a minor league shuffle. It's not the one that we
Right.
see right after the draft, but this is the little shuffle, the little ripples moving about the organization.
Well, they got to move it for lower guys to move up. They got to have the upper guys move up. So clearing some space there in Double A for some guys, and then everyone just kind of moves up. And we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of guys that I think should be moving up pretty soon out of A ball. But good to see these guys move up. Lots of pitching, tons of pitching. I mean, Carter Lowen, he was the closer for the Tincaps before he had the Tommy John. He seems to be absolutely healthy. Ripken Reyes is 28. God, is 28 years old. I still think he's so much younger than he is, but he's pretty old. But Iguarnol, and we're going to talk about more pitching here in a minute. Just there's a lot of pitching depth in the system, but once again, it's a little bit lower, and it's going to need a little time to percolate. But I really feel that some of that pitching could be dealt away to fix the left field position.
Well, what was it that the Macho Man Randy Savage said? He said the cream will rise to the top as he's holding this little creamer. Okay, so every year, Fangraphs, we have all these prospect lists.
Yep.
The one that I really look forward to seeing most is Fangraphs because I feel like they give a pretty balanced take on a lot of the players. And we get so excited, we get so hyped on our guys. They just came out with their top 38 prospects list, and there's some optimism, but I feel like there's some important context that was dropped in these analysis. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I kind of cherry picked from it. He's got Ethan Salas at 1 and Leo Vries at 2, and those guys are interchangeable depending on whose list you look at.
Right.
But he's got Salas as a 55 future value, which means that he sees him on the path to becoming a slightly better than average major league player. He notes that his aggressive promotion makes it hard to evaluate given his age, which we've talked about plenty of times. He doesn't like his bat path, but his contact data suggests he's a better hitter than his results show. So the triple slash does not look great, but I guess if you look at the actual batted ball data, which we don't have access to,
right,
suggests that there's a better hitter underlying. He's also at a very advanced level for his age as far as the pitching is facing. He says he's still, quote, super projectable and is likely to wind up with plus raw power at maturity. If he becomes as good a defender as he's projected here, he can have a one-note offensive skill set and still be a really good player. So the defense is pretty much without question at this point.
right.
I mean, you can nitpick this and that, but the consensus is he's going to be a really good defensive catcher. It's will the bat play at the major league level? And what he's saying here is if he's a hitter who just has power, or if he's a hitter who just can get on base, that's going to be enough to make him a long-term major league player. So he looks like more. So my take on it is he looks like more of a solid major league regular than a superstar franchise centerpiece.
Right.
So I think that's fair.
It's fair at this age. I mean, he's still 19.
Yeah. Yeah. So we
19.
can't expect him to be the next coming of Johnny Bench and Pudge
Right.
Rodriguez.
Right.
If
So
he
there's
becomes Mike Matheny, that's still an amazing career. Brad Ausmus kind of player. I mean, that's what I would love to see, that kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately with the fan base and the hype that came with him, everyone's like, "What? Well, trade him. Like I've heard a couple of people at my work going, "Yeah, Salas, maybe we can trade him for." Like, no, like he's a freshman in college right now. Like, leave him alone. Playing against kids that are 4 or 5 years older than he is, and has been for a little bit. For a second full season, still super young. Let the development happen. Let the cream rise to the top, as you would say. But let's talk about some more of the cream here, and that's number 2, Leodalis de Vries.
Yeah, so DeVries. So he gives him a 50, which is I think he's kind of hedging his bets, calling him a 50. He praised his max effort arm strength, which is comfortably plus. He also has mature poise and a well-calibrated internal clock. He's rarely rushed or out of control. He's otherwise only a fair defender, one who plays with a fairly high center of gravity, below average range, and an unpolished arm accuracy on throws that require touch rather than effort. And that's the most detail I've seen in an analysis of his defense.
Which I like here. Well, go ahead.
So yeah, I haven't heard somebody described as a fairly high center of gravity, but that makes sense when you think about it as a shortstop. You think about like I think of like Omar Vizquel, like he was always so low to the ground, and
Right.
that's why nothing ever got by him. But if you're playing with your butt up in the air, like I think like Alex Rodriguez, like you've got to have amazing hands to
Yeah.
be able to scoop everything up and the amazing like range and athleticism. And not everybody has that at the 70, 75 grade level that we think of with these elite defending shortstops. So there may be suspicion for some people. I think Eric thinks that maybe he's going to move off a shortstop at some point. Maybe he's better suited once he fills up and grows into his man strength. He's going to be more of a third baseman than a shortstop,
And shortstop.
perhaps.
I love this, what he says here. While precocious and talented to a meaningful degree, Vries doesn't have the exceptional pure bat speed or the over elite raw power projection, and he remains a 50 value player on this update. He's still a top 40 prospect across all baseball, but is viewed here as more likely to be a steady regular at a key position than a monster. And once again, super young. You can't teach bat speed. You can adjust stuff to make it a little bit quicker, but that's a fair. Once again, it's a fair assessment. 18. He's not a Wander Franco. He's not a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's not just absolutely destroying minor league baseball at a super young age, but the talent is there. The skill is there. It's just a baby rattlesnake. Like you need to hone in those skills and know what to do with that skill set.
Right. And then we as fans, we need to understand how to temper our expectations. Like we
Right.
we got spoiled by Fernando Tatis Jr. turning into like absolute MVP caliber player. And then Jackson Merrill blossoming from somebody that we were wondering, is the power ever going to show up? And then he gets to the majors and darn near wins rookie of the year, hits 20 home runs. Like we're spoiled by that, and not
Yeah.
everybody's going to do that. But if these guys turn into quality, regular, everyday major league players, that's a huge win. So I'm not trying to knock anybody down a notch.
No.
So DeVries is healthy and he's playing well. Let him run wild over the Midwest League all year. And then Salas, he's hurt. He's got the stress reaction in his back. Give him time to get back. Have some patience with him. And catchers take longer to develop than other position players. So it's hard to look way out there in those long-term projections
Right.
and try to, it's easy to dream, but we need to keep things reasonable.
Well, absolutely. Set the expectation there is certainly like to have an organization like the Padres, have a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr., have someone like Jackson Merrill come up and absolutely become superstars is not doesn't happen with a lot of organizations. And you can only name a couple that have that in the past couple of years that brought two kids up. And Tatis is a little bit older, obviously, but like to have that level of talent come up through the system. So if these guys who are once very highly touted and still can be plenty of what we expect of them, if they come up there and they're solid defenders, if they're you know hardball, we call them hardball guys, just can play the game and play it consistently and play it just above average. That's pretty damn good. And we still have once again we have a ton of pitching in this organization that we're going to get into here in a minute, but I think the Padres actually sometimes get more of they get a bad rap for developing major league players, and I think that is starting to change with some of the guys that have come up. I mean, Ryan Berger pitched an absolute gem the other day, and he wasn't a top prospect. He wasn't was he a seventh, eighth round guy? That last year maybe we didn't even have I think a little higher than that, but last year was even a question if he was going to make it to AAA, come up and make the adjustments that he has and do as well as he has, um, is something to be said for the organization.
It is. It is. Well, we're going to take a little break here. We'll be right back with our affiliate rundown. So stick around.
Okay, ready?
All right. Roll
Okay, I'll
that
start.
beautiful bean footage.
All right. 3, 2. All right, let's move on to the affiliate rundown. They're starting Lake Elsinore with pain in the corners. In his 12th professional outing, Adam Conrad was finally touched for his first earned runs. The righty signed as an undrafted free agent last year, giving up a career high 5 hits over an inning and a third, and was charged with 3 total runs, including a pair of earned runs. He got back to puffing up zeros this last Tuesday night. The 23-year-old pitcher pitched 3 2/3 innings and didn't allow a hit. He walked one and struck out one. Overall, the North Carolina native has a .64 ERA and 28.1 innings for the Storm in 2025. Real quick, want to give a shout out to Mad Friars. Thank you guys for allowing us to use this information. We've been using it for so long. You guys, if you don't want to listen to the podcast, go to Mad Friars, spend the $5 a day. It's $50 for the year. You get all this content on top of all the interviews. And they've been doing a ton of interviews that we haven't actually done any interviews from them. But there's a lot of content in there, and it's really good. And yeah, sign up. Sorry.
Have you ever heard of the South Florida Collegiate League?
No.
It's a summer wood bat league. I guess I've never heard of it before, but he played for the Boca Raton Blazers summer of 2024.
Interesting. It's funny because I love the summer bat leagues. They're all over. You got the Midnight League up in Alaska, with several professional, Hall of Famers have played up there. You had the Cape Cod League, which is actually in its 112th season, I think, this year.
You got one here in Southern California.
Got one here in Southern California, where my in-laws lived in North Hornell, which is the hour away from Rochester, New York. They had the Hornell Dodgers, where back when Jackie Robertson, back in the 40s, was their minor league team back in the day. And, it's funny, several years ago, we went to a game there, and they're all kids from the middle of from Texas, from California, like just from all over. These summer wood bat leagues are a way that players continue to develop, continue to stay sharp and hone their skills. And, if you're lucky enough to make it to the Cape, which is a very prestigious league, you're almost guaranteed to get drafted.
Well, Adam Conrad made a name for himself in the South Florida Collegiate League in Boca Raton, apparently.
And Boca Raton.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so moving on. Cash Mayfield returned to action last week with 4 strikeouts across 2 innings. The lefty is even more dominant this week, generating 9 whiffs over 3 perfect innings to strike out 6. He got up to 39 pitches, 28 of them for strikes in the outing, finishing out by striking out the side in the third. The 20-year-old has not allowed a base runner over his last 6 innings while striking out 13. Newly promoted Cannon Kemp came to relieve Mayfield. While he did not generate nearly the same whiff rate, he turned in 5 innings, giving up 2 earned runs and threw 77 pitches for the first time since pitching at Weatherford High School in Texas. The 2023 8th-round pick finally got underway professionally this year after dealing with shoulder issues last season. So we've a little bit kind of waiting for him to show up.
Yeah, I saw him in spring training, and I was able to ask him really quick, like, is he throwing? Like, what's going on? Like, yeah, I'm throwing. I'm pitching against live hitters, and I was able to give him an attaboy, go get him, one of those.
All right, moving on, Boston Bateman. So this kid, with all this movement, I know it's early in his career, but he is just absolutely squanching everything. He's squanching everything. 2024, the second-round pick seems to improve with each start. Entering the night, the left-hander already owned a 3.79 ERA. That number improved on Thursday as a 6'8" southpaw worked 5 2/3 innings, allowing 2 runs on 7 hits. He struck out 4 without giving up a walk. Bateman's fastball is 94 to 96 for most of the outing, topping out at 97. The slider sat in the low to mid-80s with decent depth. While he battled his changeup command at times, it did show solid fade and generated a pair of whiffs. Overall, the Arsenal induced 7 whiffs on 40 pitches. Over 19 2/3 innings in the last 4 outings, Bateman has posted a 2.36 ERA while striking out 24% of the batters he's faced. Not bad for his first taste of affiliate baseball.
Yeah, dude's on a roll, and I love the consistency.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear the Cash Mayfield. He left to start, and we were concerned. Health, who knows? Sounds like he's just fine. And then Cannon Kemp finally getting back on the bump. That's all good news. So moving on to On the Screws on Thursday, Lamar King Jr. remained hot, going 3 for 4 with a double and an RBI. Since May 17th, King has flipped a switch, going 27 for 74 with a 917 OPS. In his hot streak, King has struck out just 6 times in 81 plate appearances. For the year, he owns a career best 17.5% K rate, well down for the 25% mark last year.
Yep.
He also continues to find consistent contact in the zone, posting an 88% Z contact and a solid 20.5% whiff rate. I think Lamar King is going to be due for a promotion soon.
Absolutely.
I feel like the questions he has to answer have a lot more to do with what work he's doing with the glove, because the bat's pretty much answered all the questions.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
Ryan Jackson once again collected a multi-hit night, going 2 for 5 with a run scored. It's already his 5th multi-hit game in June. He owns an absurd 20.7% walk rate for the year. So now that's a case of a guy that, like, he can see it coming out of the pitcher's hands. And
Right.
that's what you see in the California League is you see guys with no command, no control. They can't find the strike zone. Like, you get the guys that, yeah, they can carve it up, but 4 out of 5 of the starting pitchers, you can just stand there with a bat on your shoulder and earn some walks if you just know how to recognize the pitches. So I think he's moving up real quick soon. I think he's a college guy. So there's reason for that too.
Absolutely. So far tonight, the Storm only had 7 hits, and Victor Figueroa had 4 of them. The slugging first baseman had a pair of doubles and 2 singles. Figueroa has been arguably the biggest surprise in the system after being drafted at a junior college in Florida on day 3 last season. I'll let him somewhere. Him and Romeo Sanabria are going to be roommates, and they're going to be the Florida boys. Is that the 203? Isn't the
It's like
203?
the new Bash Bros, right?
Right. Right. After pulling in absurd numbers for a few weeks in the ACL, the 21-year-old is merely producing impressive numbers in Lake Elsinore. Friday's big night raises the overall slash line to 275, 398, and 522 with Lake Elsinore. He's a big kid, too. Bat first baseman. I don't know anything about the glove, but that bat is playing, and someone to hit consistently. We'll see what it looks like when it gets to Fort Wayne, but just one of those guys that just keeps hitting.
For sure. Yeah. So far, he's walked more than he's struck out. So again, recognizing the pitches out of the guy's hands. He's a JUCO guy, so a little bit older. Danny Barand did an awesome write-up about him, breaking down the numbers. He's got access to that batted ball data, so kind of showing why he's been successful and why there's some reason to have optimism that he can continue to succeed at as he moves up to higher levels. I feel like right now he's exploiting some weak pitching,
Yeah,
which, I mean, that's what you want guys to do. You want to
right.
prove that you can take advantage of mistakes and you can lay off of bad stuff, and that's what these guys are doing. But look up Danny Barand on socials. He's at Danny BARRAND_. Every once in a while, he puts out a blog article that's really insightful. He's got some good stuff. And then finally, Cobb Hightower returned to the lineup after missing nearly 4 weeks with a knee injury.
Yeah.
The 20-year-old barely missed a beat, collecting a walk and a double in his 4 trips to the plate before being lifted from the game. Encouragingly, he was able to play shortstop effectively. He'll likely get a shot to play a full game on Tuesday after Monday's rest day. So Cobb Hightower, super athletic kid. He's
Yep.
a speed over power kind of a guy, but I mean, super athletic defender. So knee injuries are always scary when it's early in a guy's career. Glad to hear he's bounced back from it, and he'll be back out there this week.
Yeah. Today's Monday. We're going to get this on Tuesday. So by the time we hear this on Tuesday, he'll be playing that night. He'll be playing tonight. Okay, so moving on to Fort Wayne, painting the corners. The week before, Cole Paplum passed another important milestone in his rehab assignment, pitching 2 full innings coming off just 1 day of rest. That's huge. The back-to-back days is a huge test. The righty coming off being hit in the face twice in the last year. He's allowed just 1 hit in 7 2/3 innings since getting underway in late May. He should be joining one of the upper-level affiliates next week. Now, if you see him pitch, he's pitching with the full-on face guard, a la Kylo Ren, I don't know, Star Wars, but you see him, he's pitching with that face guard. It's happened twice now. So, one of the things about getting hit in the face is that, you can get the yips. Sometimes you can really develop the yips in getting hit in the face and be shy and kind of being all over the place. But good to see him back, pitching on back-to-back days and performing well. Good kid.
Well,
We love that kid.
right after the injury happened, he shared an image of his scan. It's like one of these 3D scans, and
Right.
I mean, the damage that that ball did to the structure of his face was significant. And so I can only imagine the reconstructive surgery that it must have gone under. And so just to get back on the mound and to be able to do what he's doing is a testament to his guts. And so the dude's an absolute warrior. He's a friend of the podcast. I mean, we
Yep.
enjoyed talking to him what, a year and a half ago. So nothing but the best wishes for that guy.
Yeah.
All right, last Tuesday, designated hitter Sean Barnett walked once, got a hit, and struck out once. And then on Wednesday, reliever Sean Barnett gave up a nearly identical line, walking one, giving up a hit, and striking out one. Barnett worked a perfect first inning. Then, for the first time in his young pitching career, he came back out for another frame. While he recorded 2 outs, he also put 2 runners on and threw a wild pitch before giving way after a new career high 31 pitches. The 21-year-old has now worked 3 1/3 scoreless innings and owns a 271, 380, 449 line at the plate. So he was an outfielder through college.
Yep.
It's, I think, a couple innings in college. That was it. But they drafted him as a two-way player. And so far, they've handled him like they really want to give him a chance as, see what shakes out. I don't know that this is somebody that they're going to move all the way up through the system doing both things.
Right.
But like, we're going to let you do both until you show us that one of them carries and the other one doesn't. And so far, they're both pulling their weight.
Yeah. And,
Uh,
and the hit tool's there. So they know he can hit. And so he moved up to, he was hitting in Elsinore so well that he moved up to Fort Wayne before he could start pitching in Elsinore. So now that he's up there in high A, they're letting him pitch, and he's built up the strength, and just let it happen. There's nothing but good can come out of this because the bat is there, and if the arm can get there, and if we can develop our first two-way player, more power to the organization.
right. And when he's not pitching, he can go out there and play outfield. And he's
Right.
athletic, fast. He can definitely cover some ground in outfield.
Yep.
So one of my favorite feel good stories this year has been Garrett Hawkins coming back off of a couple of years lost to injury. He continues to dominate Midwest League batters, tossing 2 scoreless innings for his first multi-inning appearance in a month. The 25-year-old, who's slowly coming back from Tommy John surgery, has not allowed a run since April 23rd, a span of 16 and a third innings in which he's struck out 21 against only 4 walks. Hawkins needed only 21 pitches Wednesday and is likely the next reliever in line for a promotion. So happy for that dude.
Absolutely. So on Thursday, a forgettable night for the Tincaps, but 22-year-old Miguel Mendez was anything but. The right-hander dominated in this short outing, working just 4 innings. Mendez allowed 1 run on 3 hits, walked 2, and struck out 6. I watched this outing. The kid was throwing absolute seeds, and the slider was working really well. So another one of these arms, like there's lots of arms in the system that are producing, for lack of a better term, and doing well. It just need to let the season continue and let them continue to develop. But there's lots to be, lots of promises in here, lots of promising arms in the system. But I digress. Walk 2, struck out 6 for much of the night. Mendez fastball sat at 96 and 97, but topped out at 100 and hit 99 a handful of times. Like the beginning of the game, it was 100, 100. 99, just absolute seeds. And the slider also showed plus depth as he racked up 19 total whiffs and a 45% whiff rate after posing 18 in his last outing. Since arriving in Fort Wayne, the 22-year-old owns a 2.77 ERA with a 32% strikeout rate. You think with a guy throwing that hard, getting 20, a 2.77 ERA, it only takes one bad outing this early to really kind of puff up that ERA. But once again, just throwing seeds and the slider that works. Like he's not throwing it out of the zone; he's throwing it for strikes, and they're just flailing at it.
Right, and he pitched 4 innings, so he's giving you some good volume. He's not just going out there and unloading for 1 inning.
Yeah.
All right, so on the screws, last week, Vries connected on his first homer since April 29th and his 5th overall on the year. It seems like those other 4 home runs came in the span of like 3 days.
Bunches, yeah.
The switch hitting shortstop also singled and drew a walk and was one of 7 batters hit by a pitch in this contest. 7 batters hit by a pitch. How come there wasn't an all-out broad brouhaha? The talented shortstop struggled in May, slugging just 280, but has looked better in June, hitting 291, a 231, 394, 423. So that's the consistency part. And when you're, I mean,
Yep.
teenagers, what teenagers consistent about anything? So Jack Costello had a pair of singles, and he connected on his fifth homer of the season. After struggling through the first 2 months, the former USD star has come alive in 6 June games. The 24-year-old is hitting 360, 380, 640 with 2 homers this month. It's about dang time.
Right.
Because I was telling people all off season, like, watch this guy. He never strikes out, just contact, spraying the ball all over the place. And he's made me, he hasn't made a liar out of me, but he's made
Right.
me feel like I haven't been completely honest with people. But now he's back to being the Jack Costello that we got to know last year.
Absolutely. And he was absolutely raking in Elsinore. But as you move up, like, things happen and you're against better, everyone reacts to getting moved up differently. And, with the cold that is now over with in Fort Wayne, people are starting to heat up now. Talk about
So
heating
tell us
up.
about Rosman Verdugo.
Yeah, Rosman Verdugo reached base 3 times with a triple and 2 walks as the DH. The 20-year-old has been showing more patience at the plate recently, drawing 13 walks in his last 10 games for a 489 on-base percentage. Encouragingly, he has also dropped his strikeout rate below 30% in that stretch. He'll look to continue to consolidate his progress heading into the season's second half.
He's only 20?
Yeah. It seems like
he's been around for years.
Yeah, it seems like he's been an assistant for like 15 years, really. And yeah, I mean, to get the strikeout rate below 30 is a good step. You need to get it below 20 or, in the 20 range to kind of maybe move up. But certainly it's good and encouraging because he went through that stretch where he was hitting home runs just about every day.
Wonder if that, guys start to get a little homer hungry. They
Yep.
start selling out a little bit. They start trying to get their front foot down a little sooner, or maybe they make their swing a little longer, or they're putting a little more effort into it rather than just trying to put the barrel on it. They're trying to hit it to the moon. Maybe he
Yeah.
wants to put out one of those. Oh, maybe he wants to hit that building right there and take out
Right.
some of those windows in my background here on my Zoom on our Zoom call here. I've got the Parkview Field, and there's that hotel that Griffin Dorshing bounced a few balls off of. Okay, so let's move on to San Antonio. Painting the corners, Braden Nett bounced back with an excellent start a week ago Friday against the Rockhounds. The right-hander worked 5 innings, allowing one unearned run on
Right.
2 hits and 1 walk, struck out 6. All 6 of Nett's strikeouts came on the four-seam fastball, which sat 96-97 with excellent ride. For the start, Nett generated a total of 9 whiffs on 37 swings. The right-hander lowered his ERA on the season to 3.92 with a 3.98 FIP. That means that he's getting pretty much what he's putting out there.
Yep.
His 26% strikeout rate ranks 7th among Texas League pitchers with a minimum of 40 innings pitched. I think there's a lot of eyes on this kid within the organization to see just, if he can hone in that command just a little bit, bring that walk rate down just a little bit. I think he might get a serious look.
Absolutely. And for another undrafted free agent, like to pop like he has been phenomenal. And that, once again, we say this almost every time we talk about Braden. He's just learning how to pitch. He literally is in his 3rd full season of really of almost organized baseball. When they drafted him, he had not pitched a lot, but he had showed some promise there. And in the workout, was signed as an undrafted free agent and has just turned a lot of heads. And once again, more pitching depth in the system. It needs to develop. It's going to take time. But once again, and I'm not going to say it, but there's potential there for fixing the left field with some guys that that aren't supposed to be doing what they're doing. And Braden Nett isn't supposed to be pitching as well as he is from where he's been drafted. And to see it has been fantastic. He's a great kid.
He sure is.
All right, on the Screws, minor league baseball announced that San Antonio Missions outfielder Ripken Reyes is the Texas League Player of the Week for this last week, June 9th through the 15th. Reyes ripped the Sod Poodles in Amarillo, going 6 for 16 with 3 triples, a home run, and 10 RBIs, the most across all AA baseball this week. He also walked 4 times, stole a base, and scored 7 runs, put down a game-tying suicide squeeze bunt. That's huge. There's the cherry on top right there.
Man is a menace.
Right. At one point, Reyes tripled 3 times within 4 at-bats, including twice with the bases loaded. He became the first player at the Double-A level dating back to 2005 to hit bases loaded clearing triples in back-to-back games. Now, this kid, he's hardball. He's a dirtbag. This kid gets dirty, but he's not fast. He's not a speedster. So for him to hit 2 triples, 3 triples, says a lot. And as hitter friendly as Amarillo is, it's not that big of a ballpark. So that ball must have ricocheted out something, and he just started running.
So he's listed as second baseman, third baseman, shortstop
Yep.
on Baseball Reference, but he's played pretty much every position on the field. He's played plenty of center field, a lot of left field. He's pitched a little bit,
Yeah.
and the guy can do everything. But what this speaks to me, I saw a quote from Ron Washington, and he was talking about working with players, and he talks about doing what the game is asking,
Right.
like the situation that the game is asking for. So you got a runner with some speed, aggressive runner on third base, less than 2 outs, drop down that bunt, a suicide squeeze, and get that guy in. You don't try to hit the home run every single time. Just if you need to move a runner over, get it over on the right side of the infield. If you got a runner on third base and less than 2 outs, sacrifice fly. Like, it sounds like he's got the skills to be able to do that. Plus, he plays all over the place.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of a guy, Matthew Batten, that got a chance a couple years ago. So plays all over, kind of does everything well, doesn't do any one thing exceptionally well,
Right.
but there's room on a big league roster for somebody like that if he can keep it up.
Yeah, and at 28, he needs to find that. And they need to get him up to El Paso, and well, they moved him up, right? Is that?
He's been bouncing, yeah.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't know that there's from a like, okay, yeah, you're facing some former major leaguers. You got some guys that are riding the PCL shuttle in AAA, but you got good competition in AA as well. I don't know that they're necessarily looking at, okay, the guys that we're going to call up are in AAA and the guys that are in AA are a whole level away. I don't know that that's necessarily the case anymore, at least with the Padres.
I agree.
All right, so Francisco Acuna has enjoyed his time facing a Midland pitching staff that has been the league's best all year. The Mission shortstop went 7 for 20 with 4 RBIs and 4 runs scored while posting an 835 OPS for the week. Since returning from a brief IL stint on May 16th, the 25-year-old has found ample success offensively. In his last 19 games, Acuna owns a 130 weighted runs created plus, 364 WOBA, and a solid 10.2% walk rate. Acuna's been doing it all year. Plays good shortstop, hits consistently. He's got enough pop to keep you honest. He's got enough speed to keep an eye on him on the bases. Like, I like this guy. I want to see what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And he hits tanks every once in a while too. I thought he has a little power as well.
Yeah, he's got some pop.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to El Paso, painting the corners. Matt Waldron turned in his longest and best outing in 2025, delivering 5 innings and 2/3 of 1-run ball to help the Chihuahuas claim the victory and earn a split on the series. Waldron, who was optioned to El Paso at the start of the month as a rehab assignment ended, relied on his knuckleball for 44 of the 90 pitches. Having it further in the zone 48% of the time, Waldron 28 has posted a 2.87 ERA over his 3 starts this month, striking out 14 against 4 walks and 15 and 2/3 innings. Now, I wonder if the velocity is still there. I know he was still he was trying to throw that knuckleball in the low to mid 80s.
Well, I can't speak to that, but being able to land the knuckleball in the strike zone 48% of the time is magic.
Yeah.
It's an impossible pitch to control. Nobody knows where it's going. And so being able to drop it in there like that is pretty darn good. So 14 strikeouts against 4 walks over 15 innings. That's hard to do for somebody who's throwing the knuckleball half the time.
Yeah. And so once again, there's another guy in the system that, has been in the majors, has done well, has performed well, and at one time was the best pitcher in the rotation, doing well in the Pacific Coast League, where it's just impossible to pitch consistently well.
Right. So while Michael King's on the injured list, while we wait for Yu Darvish to make his way back, you've got guys like Bergert and
Well, Vasquez has been doing well, and so
Right. So the back end of the starting rotation has been doing their job. So you really can't question the pitching. They've been holding it together. A
Yeah.
couple of bumps every once in a while. It's been we've been waiting for the offense to come back. So I filled up the AAA part of our agenda here with guys that are at least major league adjacent. So the
Right.
next here, Brian Hoeing, whose rehab assignment was already extended once, is coming up on a likely decision day. Working on 1 day's rest, the right-handed reliever struck out one in a clean inning. After interrupting his work for a week at the end of May, he's now appeared 4 times in 8 days. He gave up 1 run on 3 hits in 3 innings in the series. So he's been pitching well. He's been getting the job done. They wanted to extend his rehab. I think part of it is because there isn't a whole lot of room at the major league level. There's only a couple of
Yeah.
guys up there that have major league options or minor league options. So you
Yeah.
got to find a room for this guy when he's ready to come back.
Absolutely. So on the screws, Trenton Brooks, who was just called up yesterday, collected 10 hits over 6 games in Albuquerque, but Albuquerque is the moon. He had 2 singles, 3 doubles, and 5 home runs, including back-to-back 2 home run nights on Saturday and Sunday. That game, that gave him more home runs on the week than he hit in all of May. The 29-year-old hit 440, 515, and a 1.16 on the week, raising his season OPS to 1.032. Even in the Pacific Coast League, that is some pretty good numbers. And that is going to get you a taste of, that's going to get you a cup of coffee in the major leagues. And if he can hit the ground running, then he might be able to stick for a while. So Brooks primarily played first base in the last few years, but has experience in left field, where it's got to be left field.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It's,
and you got Brandon Lockridge and Tyler Wade, and I mean now that Jackson Merrill is on the IL, you're going to have Lockridge or Wade in center field. So now you got Trenton Brooks, and then the next guy on our list here, Bryce Johnson. He made his case for consideration in the big
yep.
league outfield as a 29-year-old hit 400, 500, 500 over 5 games, scored 4, knocked in 5, and stole a base. Since rejoining the organization, Johnson is hitting 304, 416, 448 with 9 stolen bases. So, but again, you gotta contextualize all of this. Like Luis Camposano was posting a 1,000 OPS,
Yeah.
came up, struggled. We saw Tirso Ornelas got up to a good start. They called him up, he struggled. Bryce Johnson has prior major league experience. Trenton Brooks has played some major league games. It's been a little while. But you can't expect these guys to just come up and just start mashing.
Right.
At least be a contributor. Don't be a black hole in the back end of the lineup. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Just, the occasional hit and walk is perfectly fine. Be the table setter. Don't need to be the hero. We got plenty of heroes on that in that lineup.
Right, right.
All right. So after striking out in his first, after striking out in the first and getting hit by a pitch, and after striking out in the first and getting hit by a pitch, you wrote that. Bleep.
My bad.
Cut that. Jason Hayward lined a 103rd mile an hour single to right field in the 5th inning. He finished today with a grounder and his second punch out in the 9th. Hayward has appeared as the designated hitter in his first 2 rehab assignments starts. Lined 103. Yeah. Finished today. Yeah. Hayward has appeared. Okay, there it is. He's essentially, ladies and gentlemen, he's 2 for 13 with a double.
Yep.
It's a Pacific Coast League, but I'm not sure, how long they're going to keep him down there, or if they're going to keep him down there once he's healthy.
I don't think they can.
Really, they have to bring him up.
He's on a major league contract, yeah, and he's a veteran with a decade plus of big league experience. So either he comes up and he takes a spot on the big league roster, which I mean, he's an experienced defender in left field.
Right.
Unless they make some other move, I think once he's healthy, he's back up at least as a platoon player in left field. But I mean, 3 games, he's only been playing DH. So that tells me that was it his knee, I think, that he's down there for?
I think so.
And he's hit a double. He's 2 for 13. We want to start seeing some video game numbers before I start thinking he's ready to come back.
Absolutely. So
All right, so bringing it home, batting around, the Chihuahuas Twitter account announced we know who we'll be rooting for, and they posted a picture of Joey Chestnut in a Chihuahuas jersey. And then Joey Chestnut announced, I'm thrilled to be returning to the Nathan's Famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest. This event means the world to me. It's a cherished tradition, a celebration of American culture, and a huge part of my life. Of course, it's a huge part of your life, Joey
Right.
Chestnut. It's
We
the only
make the
reason
money.
anybody knows who Joey Chestnut is.
Right. Absolutely. So congratulations to Joey after being banned. I don't know why he was banned last year. But yeah, great for him. And he showed up at a Chihuahuas game. That's what's going on, yeah?
I think that's the connection. That once upon a time he showed up at a Chihuahuas game, so picture him wearing a Chihuahuas jersey. So that's the Chihuahuas pick in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, which it's it's one of the most disgusting. They call it a
Yeah.
sport. I don't know how you call that a
Yeah.
sport. And it's just it's such a hard thing to watch for me.
Yeah.
Like, how do they eat? Where does it all go?
Well,
And what do they do with it after they're done? I don't even want to know. But it's just so weird. There's this great fascination we as Americans have with eating. And on the 4th of July, like the biggest show on earth is a dozen people up on a stage stuffing as many hot dogs down their throat as they can. It's just so strange.
it is evidence of a gluttonous culture. I don't know.
It's a
I've never
statement
watched
on our
it. I
country
don't
for
get it.
sure.
Competitive eating is a thing. I competitive eat, but it's just really emotionally I do.
Yeah, you're competing with your own feelings.
Okay, real quick. The battery in my computer's dying. So I have been involved in a project that that has been taking me away from the podcast, and this is why we're doing it every 2 weeks. And it was almost a struggle to get this one in today because I have so much work to do with this project. We are opening up, and we're planning on opening up a agro-tourism / mini resort here in San Diego in the Humul area. If you go to Twitter, if you go to TikTok, if you go to Instagram, if you go to Facebook and follow Urban Glamp Co., that's Urban Glamp with a P Co. That is our project. That's what we're doing. We're getting ready to have our it's a reward-based crowdfunding campaign start here, not in 2 weeks. We're just finishing up some of the renderings for the site, but that's what's been taking me away. But we're starting to see some momentum. If you guys want to go on any of those social media platforms and follow us, it would be great. You can get updates, and there'll be opportunities in the future for you to get significant discounts on stays. And you're going to see what we're doing. We're going to do a really cool. We're going to do great geodesic domes, these mirrored villas. They're going to have decks. They're going to have a wading pool or a jacuzzi and a fire pit on the deck for each one of these units. We're going to have 10 acres of orchards with raised beds, a commons pavilion with open kitchen where you'll be able to come around and hang out in the fire pit that's submerged, that's going to be built into the pool. So you'll be able to walk down into the fire pit and be able to sit right next to the pool. It's a year away. We haven't broke ground yet, but we're moving towards that. That's the project that I'm working on. And if you guys want to go and follow us on social media, it'll do nothing but good for us, and it'll do nothing but good for you guys, as you're going to be able to have opportunities to get really discounted stays here in the coming weeks.
So since we're doing a little mini infomercial here,
Yeah.
could you explain to us what the agro-tourism, what that term means, and what
So
this resort is going to provide for the
So
guests?
essentially, it's a farm. So we're going to have a farm. We're going to have a working farm with 10 acres of olives, oranges, apples, and citrus. It'll be a working farm with a ton of raised beds to support our farm to table dining platform. You can have breakfast, you can have dinner. It's all going to be locally raised, locally purchased, and locally sourced proteins and vegetables. What we don't grow will be from local farms. Agritourism. So in through this, you'll be able to come and learn about organic farming. You're going to learn about permaculture design and how the way the farm will be built. It's actually a fully living organism where we're harvesting water, the rainwater. We're capturing carbon in the soil. So we're regenerative farming, which is essentially what that is. And through this, you have the opportunity to come and learn that. It's not, you don't have to do it, but we'll be offering those programs once we get open. And that's what agritourism is. In San Diego, in a lot of America, farms are going down. we're losing, I think, 5 farms can't remember the number. It's something stupid how many farms we're losing because it's just so expensive to run a farm. So what we're doing, what farms are doing, are they're having these agritourism. They're putting in these really nice stays on their property. You're able to stay there, learn about farming, watch where your food's grown, how to grow it yourself, and that's how. And when they charge money. And that's how these farms are staying afloat is through this. You see a lot of this in Napa. You see tons of it in Central California, where a lot of the wine, where the wine country is. But throughout California, this is happening. Not really happening here in San Diego. A couple wineries, several wineries have little stays on their properties, but we're actually focusing on making it more of a micro resort. We're going to have a spa. We're going to have a jacuzzi. You're going to have a soaking tub in every one of these units, in-suite showers. So it's slowly coming together, but it's taking me away from watching a lot of minor league baseball and being able to focus on the podcast.
Now, you mentioned the farm to fork and the farming and all this, but I want to hear a little more about the fork side. You're going to have a professional kitchen, professional chef. You're going to have meals prepared for your guests. So it doesn't just come out here and learn how to farm. This is enjoy a luxury experience and have some premium meals as part of your stay, right?
Yes, absolutely. You'll be able to have breakfast, lunch, dinner. This is, once again, you don't have to. You can stay there and just go. We're 10 minutes away from Rancho San Diego. We're 40 minutes away from, if we get this property, we're 40 minutes away from downtown. So you have access to everything. But if you want to have a farm to fork meal, we'll be providing that with locally sourced proteins, with locally sourced and grown ourselves vegetables. And same thing with the breakfast. It'll all be locally sourced. So it's a very micro sourced or project farm. Yeah.
Well, that's an outstanding opportunity. I'm excited for you, and I hope this thing takes off like a rocket.
As do I. And until then, you can find me on Twitter at SD Donovan.
I'm at Zippy_TMS.
Okay.
See you next week, everybody.
Next week or the week after.